Hey folks, so I have here a Meritz Pioneer 2 S254 electric mobility wheelchair, scooter, depending on what you want to call it. This is a pretty rare variant of the Pioneer 2, and I really like it. It's done me well. I actually had another one that got stolen, which was really tragic and dumb. But yeah, I'm going to make some videos showing how to upgrade and repair these, at least this particular wheelchair and maybe some other ones, because A, I like sharing, B, I have to do the work anyway, might as well help someone, and C, because these insurance companies and DME, or durable medical equipment manufacturers and distributors, screw us over all the time. They are always screwing over the disabled community. We have to pay for so much of our own parts and labor, and they absolutely jack up the prices on us, and it's really unfair. So hopefully these videos will empower you to do your own repairs, or have a loved one or friend or caretaker do some of these repairs with you, for you. So without further ado, let me explain the two repairs I'm going to go for today. Number one is we have a tiller. This is called the tiller assembly that obviously doesn't stay up. It is broken. It came broken. It was actually rusted when I got this. So I was very fortunate to secure a replacement. However, you can repair these yourself, although it's quite difficult, by trying to replace the tension cable that's in here. In the case of mine, though, however, it had rusted out and broken the metal latch here that ties onto this piston. So that was the situation with mine, but hopefully yours will be in better shape. Before we begin work, we've got to take out our basket, which I see has a couple broken pieces in here of plastic. Haven't worked on this in a while. And we've got a hook somebody put on here, previous owner, which is fine. I can leave that for now. I'll use a hot air gun and get that off later. You've got two Allen screws here. One of them you can see I replaced already. However, they're the same. I'll try to find out the exact measurements to share with you. And then you're going to have two Phillips screws on either side. Three, because you have the two at the top here that are a little bit larger. What I usually do is I put the screws in the basket. You really want to make sure that you don't lose any hardware. The hardware is hard to come by. So in fact, what I'm also going to do is get a box out here in my garage with less holes in it than the basket. I'm going to put it in the basket as well, and that'll make sure that, as you can see, nothing's going to get lost. Really helps if you have power tools at your disposal. You don't have to have power tools, but if you can't afford them or find them for cheap, they make this work much easier. Now, most folks will tell you that the largest battery you can fit inside, the larger the battery you can fit for your wheelchair, the better. And this is because, of course, the power draw is enormous on these things when we're sitting on them. And the less power discharge that brings a battery to its lowest state, the longer its lifespan usually. And so, yeah, even though you're like, it makes the wheelchair heavier, but it's heavier because of power. So definitely recommend getting the largest batteries you can. In the case of my particular unit, I have upgraded it to a U1 12 volt 35 amp hour deep cell battery. What's important is you want to get the deep cycle battery. You do not want to use something like a car battery, which is meant for instantaneous discharge. Because the way a car works is it instantaneously discharges to power your motor, which then, through internal combustion engine, through gasoline, powers your alternator. Same with the rotation of the car as well. And the alternator is the power source that charges your battery in a car. We don't have an alternator. We don't have an internal combustion engine. We have a transaxle motor in the back and 2 passive wheels in the front. It's really the transaxle motor that's doing all the work, and it's really, I think, just one wheel. The other one has like an alternating gear hookup to it. It's really just one wheel that's powered in this particular unit. And so that transaxle motor has a 24 volt motor, and then some gears and some ball bearings and stuff. And that's doing all the work. So, yeah, let's see. I'm going to do the batteries first, because I'm not really going to be able to do much without batteries that work. Now, I have tried to be careful and charge this as much as possible, but it's been sitting here for a while. And if you have it sitting for more than 6 months, especially if you haven't charged it, your batteries are going to be toast, especially if you're trying to go long distances. By long distances, I mean like greater than 4 to 8 blocks, 4 to 8 city blocks. I measure it in blocks because I don't have an odometer, built into this thing. Although that's not a bad idea. So the hardest part is getting this seat up. Getting this seat up really sucks. Originally, I think the original model has a bolt that secures it in the down below the seat, and I took that bolt out a long time ago because it doesn't need it. It really sticks in there strongly. It sucks. This is the part that I don't like. Let's see what I can do. So it's going forward. There is a lever on the back here that will lock the brake so that you can't move it, or in my case, but I can move it, which I want to be able to, but not when I'm actually lifting the seat. So I'm going to go from under and see if I have any better luck. Oof. So far, no. Come on. There we go. I do not enjoy that part. Okay. So now we're at this part. Now originally there's 2 17 amp hour batteries, and this actually velcros down here. Since I'm installed previously, the U1 they have a higher height, which means this does not sit flush anymore. There's a couple things you can do to solve that. You can add Velcro on the very back here over your motor. That actually can help quite a bit. There's also a metal bar here. I think I added some extra Velcro. But if you want to be more secure, you can put zip ties. You can drill little holes and put zip ties around the metal frame here. Just another tip. So you pull this up, and I'm going to get the camera closer so that we can look at our battery here. And the lighting should be pretty good for another hour or two, hopefully. But I have a work light here if it isn't, and we'll try to make use of that. Thanks for bearing with the camera movement, the shaky camera here, while I set the tripod up. A little bit of a rundown of what's going on here. This is the Velcro for the back pole that I mentioned. This is your motor controller. It's a 70 amp Rhino. Is that what it is? I thought it was a Rhino. No, it's a Dynamic DS72K01. DS72K01. And it's a 70 amp motor controller. And you have a fuse here. And you have these dust cover plugs. You can see why these are here, because so much dust accumulates. And there are 3 connectors. One of them is for the battery. And what it actually does is connect these 2 batteries in series. Big fat connector for the battery. And then there's 2 connectors here. Oh, I gotta remember what they're for. I think both of them actually go to the tiller. One of them may in fact be the charger plug on the side of the tiller right here. So that's where you plug in a charger. So I could be wrong about that. I have to double check more later. But what I'm going to be doing is lifting up, so to replace the batteries, you lift up the 2 covers, of course, on each battery. And then you're going to have a Phillips or an Allen, or a hex bolt here, securing the batteries in place. You want to make sure these bolts, of course, are quite tight. Otherwise, your battery comes disconnected while you're using it. That's no good. You really don't want that. You also want to be careful of these fuse holders. These are spring-loaded glass fuses inside of here. And so you want to make sure these are nice and tight, because if they're not, then the spring disconnects the fuse. And then again, you're going to have stalling. You're going to have a real problem. So the important thing is to go slow, do good quality work whenever you're working on a wheelchair or mobility device, because you don't want the person to be stalled somewhere, especially if that person's you. I forgot, first step is I need to actually unplug the batteries from these connectors. There's this center push pin that I'm going to push in and then pull. It does require a bit of force. Again, not great if you've got hand problems like me, but do what you can. Here's another center pin. It's better if you have help doing this stuff, but I don't right now. Gotta do it myself. You know, sometimes you just have to take one for the team, you know? Okay. Get out my tools. My trusty skill electric screwdriver here, which I might end up wishing I had my stronger electric drill here, but we'll see. And then I have this great little socket set. Almost any socket set will do. If I remember correctly, these are also metric bolts, but I'll double check. For those that are unfamiliar, all hardware, all bolts and stuff are either metric or SAE. SAE is the imperial, like American, European standard, or sorry, Britain and American standard. Metric is used everywhere else in the world. If you ever have a choice, always go with metric. It is insane. That is not the universal standard. So I also have this nice socket set, which is a 1/4 inch driver, so you can use it with all your electric drills. And yeah, there's our nice one. So in the case of mine, I have a 10 millimeter hex bolt. The nice thing about this is I can take out any electric screwdriver, and voila. Now, of course, you have a lot of torque on these, especially if you have a nut. Mine also have the nut. It's a lock nut too. It's got like a rubberized plastic in there to, of course, keep it from coming loose from vibration. But first, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a left turn here, and what I'm actually finding is it's coming off pretty easily, which is really good news for me. I'm going to use the electric drill part now. So I might be wrong that it's not actually a lock nut, it's a regular nut, which means it's easier to come off, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, but in this case, it's pretty good. Also, interesting, maybe it's built, I don't think it's built into the battery, I think it's just fused on there. So you have your hex nut, and you usually have a washer as well. It's good to have the washer because it gives a higher contact area for the head of the bolt. You want as much contact area as possible. More metal, more contact area means larger currents. You know, more power can run safely. Don't forget, this thing is discharging, it's moving a whole person. So you want to have as much help as you can give it for conducting that electricity, that electrical power. All right, so we got one battery out. That nut appears to have melted. Wow, that's not great. That certainly tells me something, that it was not on there tight enough. And so it's likely generating sparks. Not great by any means. See if I can find myself a 10 millimeter wrench. Actually, I wonder if this looks good. Yeah, that'll do it. So, yeah, you have, if you can see that, these like metallic threads here. And that's what happens when it's not secured enough. So don't be like me. Secure yours more tightly and use a lock nut if possible. Not the end of the world, I guess, but it's not great. So the batteries that I recommend, highly recommend, Sigmatech SP12-35. I believe it says 35, numbers written off. 30. Anyway, I have a new one. I'll put it here in a sec so you'll be able to see. Really good batteries. Really, really good batteries. They last a lot longer. Now, when I do use this a lot, if I go out like every day or two, I find that I have to replace the batteries. With the other brands and a crappy charger, I have to replace them every year, maybe every year and a half. With these ones, I can go about two or 3 years. They're really not much more either. So definitely recommend those if you can do it. If you can afford it and you have, another note on disability access. The independent living resource centers do not, in my area, they do not help you with wheelchair battery cost at all, which in my opinion is criminal. Those places get millions of dollars of taxpayer money, and they're supposed to be supporting disabled people. And yet you cannot even get the slightest help with replacing a wheelchair battery. You can't get any install help, you can't get any repair help, you cannot even get a discount or a coupon for a wheelchair battery. So I'm extremely critical of a lot of the disability nonprofits because they screw us over all the time. And they accept millions of dollars in federal funding, but then there's a bunch of, sellouts, essentially. Sometimes disabled people themselves that have just sold out the community because they want to keep their cushy jobs. It's really too bad. Sorry to be a downer, folks, but it's just the reality. And if you're watching these repair videos, hopefully they're helping you, but I'm also going to be sharing, facts like that because I think just as important as the repair info is the info of how to, what's actually happening to our communities and why it's so hard for us to survive. So for years I've been doing my own maintenance and repair. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't, if my disabilities were a little bit worse, and I couldn't do this sort of thing. So yeah, it's an important thing to think about. All right, so we got the second battery out here. And I'm just going to slide it because it's a heavy sucker. All right, now if you want, you can kind of clean this. I don't think I'm going to bother too much because it's going to get so dirty so quickly going down city streets. And my gloves are already tearing apart from just what little I've done already. This is kind of interesting. There's a rod here that you can release to separate the frame from the motor, from the whole motor assembly, and the motor transaxle motor, which is kind of cool. These motors, by the way, totally overpriced, ridiculously overpriced, and they gouge us really hard. These are about $300 to replace, and I try to get them used, but it's really unfortunate. Also, the wheels are about $100 to replace. They're foam filled. There's not air in here. They're actually filled with foam. There's 4 bolts, and these the rims are press fit together and a total bastard to get out. You have to wedge in a flathead. I'll try to upload another video about that to show you how to do that. Obviously, and the other thing is it will change depending on your model because the manufacturers, that's another way they screw us over. They change the models all the time, so we can't use parts across models and save money. Car manufacturers do the same thing, but I think it's a little bit worse when it's medical equipment. Well, that's capitalism for you, folks. It's not cool, though. All right, so I've got my new batteries here. And, oh boy, this is heavy. I'm gonna feel this tomorrow. Just trying to get one of them out. Okay. Okay, so we got one of the batteries here in the box here. And I'm going to use the X-Acto knife, just a cutting blade to open the box. And you'll usually find there's hardware and the battery itself. Looks like I opened this from the bottom. It's no biggie. Okay. So we've got a little bag of hardware. And I usually try to use the new hardware. Oh, these ones are hex bolts with a Phillips head. That's kind of nice. That way, if you strip the Phillips head, you're not out of luck. Okay, so question is, do I want the contacts to be on the outside or the inside, and does it matter? I think it does because of the length of the cable here. So, well, I don't know. Yeah, no, I should do it the same as before. That's because of the way the cable is set up. Now you'll find there is a little bit of wiggle room with this, and I used to, one of these days I'd like to make a little, whatchamacallit, spacer to hold it in place more securely for this particular model. Maybe I'll measure that later, see if I can do that. Like you could 3D print, like 3D print a spacer would be cool. However, there's also space in the front too, so you maybe do an L bracket, 3D print an L bracket to hold it in place. That would be sweet. I'm not going to hook up the batteries just yet. I'm going to get the other one out and get it into place first too. Another heavy sucker. Okay, so similarly, I'm going to want to connect this depending on the orientation of the wires. And so in this one, yeah, interesting. I wonder what would happen if I were to connect. No, let's just keep it the way it was. So, yeah, I think. Oh my God, this is heavy. Okay. It's gonna hurt. Gotta take a break. A deep breath. Okay, so, okay. You have a similar problem with not having a spacer here where it can kind of move around, which is another reason why it's good to make the bolts really secure. And yeah, I really like to design a spacer later. I think at one point I cut some, you can use the foam that comes with the battery as a temporary. It's not exactly ideal, but maybe it's better than nothing, I don't know. Maybe. See what I can do with it, if anything actually works here. I don't know if that's going to do anything. Alright, so you have, of course, these little safety contacts on here you just got to pull off. And carefully slide the, the rubber cover so you get the terminal mount here exposed. I guess mine doesn't want to slide all the way back. That's okay. And the important thing is you don't want to bend this terminal mount. You don't want to apply any force to get it into a position that you like. Try to find the position it was in before, and really just work with getting this rubber pulled back, like so. Because the more you bend this, the more you weaken these crimped contacts here. You really don't want to weaken this wire. Again, for the same reason as I mentioned before with the surface area, for the contacts themselves, you want these wires to be very strong and in healthy, durable shape because they are supplying a lot of current, a lot of power, much more than anything that you're typically going to be using, like a computer or something. So I got the washer in there. Actually, I'm going to use the new bolts because they have that Phillips in there. It's pretty cool. Pretty handy. They come in a nice little blue bag. More identifiable. So put the washer on first, and you'll see we got that Phillips part as well, which is kind of handy. Get the bolt through here, and let's get, I guess, and they have a, so interesting, they have this guy as well as a washer. I forget what these guys are for. I think these are tension mounts, essentially. What I might do is, well, you know what? Let's put that on the other side, and then have the nut help out. If you're familiar with hardware, if you're a hardware nerd, let me know what that one's for. Because I know they apply a little. It's like a little outward pressure. But I'm not sure exactly how they're used. I kind of don't like it though because it only makes partial contact with the surface if I use that. And that's probably why I didn't use it before, unless you can bend it. But yeah, I don't know. I've done fine without using that part, so I'm gonna not use it right now. Look into it later. So I'm just getting this bolt on here, and I'm going to use. There's a side that has writing on it. This side, and you probably can't see that. I'm going to get the side that doesn't have writing on it. Again, you want the best contact possible, and if it doesn't have writing, it's going to be more flush to the terminal. Okay, so now I'm going to want a 10 millimeter wrench. Looks like I have one, which is terrific. And you can put one side with the wrench, and the other side, if you have it, either with your Phillips screwdriver or your socket, with and then you're holding one. I'm holding the left one while turning the right, and that tightens it. Suppose I could do this. I'm not really using the electric drill part because I don't want to mess up the screwdriver. It's got to get pretty tight. And yeah, I'm already messing up the chuck. Gotta be careful not to do that. Let's see if I have a manual. Pretty sure I have a manual driver in my screw bag, my tool bag here. Well, yes I do. Okay, cool. So I'm going to use a manual driver to try to give it a little more torque without breaking my chuck on my electric screwdriver. And so again, this time you can actually also hold and then turn the wrench to the to the right in this case. I'm sorry, to the left. Oh, wrong. That's pretty damn good. That's on there real good. All right, cover it up, and that's it. So you could skip ahead in the video if you wanted this part, because it's just going to be me doing that 3 more times. I have to do it though, so here it goes. I'm actually going to do the. Might do the two minus sides first and then do the positive rail afterwards. I want to make sure I don't accidentally short anything. And that might be the safest way to do it. Okay. Alternatively, you can do 2 wrenches, in my case 10mm wrenches, to help you out with that torque. Get a little more angling. Fortunately, this is going on pretty easily for me. It's not too much of a problem yet. Also, very important, you want to charge your batteries after you install them. Okay, yeah, that sucker's on there good. I'm still kind of surprised they don't use a thread lock nut for these. Though I guess they don't know if you're putting them on a scooter or not. Wheelchair, medical device, or whatever it may be. It has a lot of vibration. Usually when there's vibration, you want to use a lock nut, which is, like I mentioned earlier, where the threads are kind of a type of rubberized plastic. Okay, got the second one on, and now I'm gonna open our other little bag here. Get the last 2 positive rail ones. Did I not do the washer on this one? No, I didn't. Okay. I'll make sure I use that washer for the good contact area. Okay, one's on pretty darn good. And now we'll do the last one. All right, almost done here. Mike, you're not really getting a good shot of anything, are you? Get the camera over here. See? Better. All right. There's all sorts of fun upgrades you can do to these too. And as I work on this more, I'll try to show some of those. Very important note, by the way, for those that haven't skipped ahead. Well, let me finish this and then I'll explain the important note in case anyone's skipping ahead. Okay. All right. So, got your batteries installed. Just an important note I want to mention to anyone that owns one of these or similar model. This transaxle motor here there's a rod, an axle that goes, to the wheel. And that axle has roller bearings, basically like ball bearings that the axle rolls on. If you drop this, I've had friends and caretakers pick this up and then drop it, you will turn those ball bearings into a powder. Those roller bearings, sorry, not the ball bearings, the roller bearings. They will just turn into a powder. Be very careful you don't drop this and put weight on these wheels, like a force, on these wheels, a movement force. They're supposed to just, roll. All right, note is over. Let's go ahead and turn this on, see if we get anything. Although I do need to charge it. Oh, also helps if I plug in the batteries, doesn't it? Got the two connectors here. By the way, it doesn't matter which one you pick because it connects them in series at the controller side. So either connector you can plug in. And okay. Guess mine has a little bit of a rubberized cover here. I'm going to try to get it back on. Yep, there we go. Nice and secure. And actually, I think mine goes around this center pole first. So I'm going to unplug it one more time. Oh, I think it goes. Does it go around here? Yeah, I think it does. Okay. The one that was stolen had a lot more miles on it, you could say. That's why this particular one looks a lot cleaner. It's just because it hasn't been used as much. But it will be, hopefully. Oh, we've got lights. And we've got movement. We've got the really janky battery gauge, which I'll be upgrading. But looks like battery upgrade was a success. So I'm going to put my tools away for that. So yeah, it's a battery upgrade video for you folks. Repair and upgrade. If anyone knows any tips for where to get, batteries for disabled people, not having to pay full price out of pocket when your insurance doesn't cover it, let me know. Common myth: a lot of people think that insurance will automatically cover wheelchairs for disabled people, and it's not true. Not true at all. So, like I said, the nonprofits around here, independent living resource centers, what I refer to as nonprofit parasites, because they suck up federal funds and then don't help people. They won't help me at all. They wouldn't help me with voice recognition software. They wouldn't help me with batteries. They wouldn't help me with anything. They're terrible. They weren't very nice about it either. So if anyone has any tips, like, hey, there's a battery discount over here, or a coupon, or here's a nonprofit that actually does help people, I sure would love to know about it. But until you've tried it, don't assume, right? Don't assume that, it advertises that they help people. Doesn't mean that they do, right? So don't assume, but if you have a good recommendation, I'm certainly open to it. Add a comment if you found this video useful. I love hearing from folks. I'll be posting more of these, and I'm going to try to make, hopefully by the time you see this video, I'll have a website dedicated to durable medical equipment knowledge and repair, DIY stuff. This is just stuff I've had to do for survival, and I figure other people might as well benefit from it. Let me know if you have any suggestions too, and please keep your comments nice. I'm just making these videos to help people, and I'll catch you later.